Blog Talk Radio.
There's a mystery lurking the forested areas of the world. Many have seen something, but what is it? Are they seeing known animals? They claim they walk upright, like a human. There are so many eyewitnesses. Can they all be wrong? Is someone just playing a trick on people? Or is it possible a large bipedal being could exist in the forests of the world? You have a decision to make. Do you believe it exists? These are the topics we discuss on Sasquatch Watch Radio. Welcome everyone to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is September 10th, 2013. We've got an interesting topic we're going to discuss tonight, but before we get into that discussion, I want to welcome my co-host, Creature Seeker. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Billy. How you doing?
Doing just fine. Feeling pretty good, so I can't complain.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Sasquatch Watch Radio, not to be confused with the National Enquirer, which has a blog that's very similar to that name. But here we go.
Is that true, really? They have a blog similar to our name?
Well, you know, National Enquirer. You know.
I know what you mean, Billy.
Okay. I didn't want to go over your head. But anyway, we have an interesting show tonight. I believe this is a topic that we've probably both heard people actually ask. You know what? But before we get into that, I just want everybody to pause for a moment, and you know, we need to think about tomorrow. Tomorrow is a day that a lot of people will remember for a long time. Some really terrible things happened at 911, as we all know. A lot of people lost loved ones, innocent folks. And we really, you know, whatever we're doing tomorrow, we're going to work, you know, being at home, whatever, we need to keep those folks in our mind tomorrow as a lot of people actually, one way or another, will be showing a tribute to those folks, the folks at the World Trade Center, the folks that were in the airplane in Pennsylvania, folks at the Pentagon. I think we really need to keep all those folks in mind, and you know, I think it's going to be a very sobering moment tomorrow.
I agree, Billy. You know, a lot of people lost their lives that day, and a lot of people lost their lives since that day.
Yeah.
And it's a very sombering, thought. And I knew some people who were in one of the towers. Well, actually, I knew a gentleman, but it was actually his wife who worked in the towers, and I remember talking to him. It was a couple months later, and I didn't know it, but they never did recover her body. So it was a really tough thing for him, and it just stuck with me, Billy. It was just this guy who it's really hard to get closure on something like that,
Yeah, I was watching a special they had on about a week ago. I think it was on Fox News, and what they had done is they took a collection of a lot of amateur video and stuff that really hasn't been shown before, because there was a lot of people, filming stuff that day, everywhere, and some of those people caught some very rare footage of, it really showed the way people were affected by what was going on. A lot of people were just in shock at what was really happening. I think some people couldn't believe what was happening. I mean, it was just, no one. I saw one of the videos where, one of the guys were like, he literally said it like 15 seconds before it happened. He was talking to the person holding the camera, and he's like, oh yeah, he goes, because they were talking about feeling a rumble, and he's like, oh yeah, them towers ain't gonna go nowhere. And it was like 15 seconds after he said that, and the thing come down. I mean, it's just amazing to see what some of the people went through. I mean, that was an ordeal to be there, that's for sure.
Well, certainly, our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims, and like I said, those who gave their lives since then to, fight for our freedom.
Right. And I am right. Tomorrow, I do plan to pay tribute to the folks by riding in the 2 Million Bikers to D.C. The D.C. government declined the event permit for the group to go through D.C., without stopping with an escort. But that's not going to stop anybody. So the bikers are still going. Been seeing, constant videos and photos of groups of bikers coming from all states all over the United States. And it's very, very encouraging to see people who want to show their support, the patriotism and the support that they want to show in light of what happened. So I'm sure that's going to be a very interesting event tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, it should be a very memorable event nonetheless, Billy.
It shall be. But on to our topic tonight. Our topic tonight, we have a body, now what? So let's set up the scenario here. And first of all, we would love to have listener participation in this. The phone number to call in if you want to participate in this discussion is area code 347-237-5070. I'll repeat, the number is 347-237-5070. So when you do call in, press the number 1 on your phone, and it'll put an indicator up that you want to speak on the show. So let's set up the scenario. We're walking through the woods, whether we're researching Bigfoot or hunting or whatever. And lo and behold, you walk up on this large mass laying on the ground. You go over and you take a look.
Frozen? Is it a frozen mass in a freezer?
Well, the freezer was down the road in the ravine.
Okay.
So, I guess maybe somebody could have drug it, after they pulled it out of the freezer or something. But I didn't see any pig parts. So, but lo and behold, here's this large mass on the ground, and you go up there and look at it, and you realize, oh wow, I'm not looking at a bear. This must be Bigfoot. This must be what everybody calls Bigfoot. You're standing there, by yourself, what do you do? What do you do, Bruce?
Well, the first thing I would do, Billy, is because it's all covered with hair, I want to be sure that it's not Eric Altman.
No. I think you're a little mistaken. I think Eric is thinning at the top. So, I'm not sure I'd make that mistake.
You know what, Billy? So basically what you're saying is if you find a body that's covered with hair except its sagittal crest is balding, it could be Eric Altman.
Well, I guess, but...
you know what? Just because I mentioned his name, I bet someone's going to call him and tell him to listen to the show tomorrow. then he's going to send me. Then he's going to send me an email, berating me for making fun of him. That's the pattern.
Well,
I hope he knows we do it out of love, Billy. Not out of malice. We do it out of love.
Now, if we see a large mass laying there and it's got a ukulele sitting beside of it, it might be Irish guy. We'll find out if he listens to the show. But all joking aside, this is things that we really need to think about. I mean, the likelihoods of it happening, of course, are probably slim to none. But if it happened and you happen to walk up and you see this, I've thought over and over and over what I would do. First of all, you have to think about, what happens. For example, let's say you're in national forest. Do you think that it's a good idea to get your buddies together and drag that thing to the truck and load it up and take off out of national forest with it?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Billy, I think that's illegal. You're not supposed to be able to take anything out of a national park.
Right.
So, you can't pick flowers. You can't. I'm told, in one extreme case, I'm told that if you found like a turkey feather, you're not supposed to be able to pick that up and take that home with you because you're supposed to leave it where it is. But
right.
I think the answer to your question lies in what you think has a higher probability, Billy. Is there a higher probability that you would be tried for murder, or is there a higher probability that you'd be hailed as a hero for finally having proof of the existence of the Bigfoot creature?
Right. And I've thought of this at quite some length, and we've heard many stories about, you're standing there, you've got to make a decision. So what do you do? Do you call the media? Say, hey, Fox News, man, I've got a news article for you. You might want to come on out here right now. Do you do that, or do you get on the phone and call like a college, university? Maybe speak to somebody there. Do you call animal control, Game and Inland Fisheries? So what is the right answer? It's something that we really have to think about, and be ready to take the steps necessary to do what is the right thing, really.
Digger in the chat room, Billy, brought up a very good point, and that is, if you don't publicize this to the media, there are many things that could happen to that body in your absence.
Yep, exactly, and that is the type of things that I have always thought about. Documentation, photos, videos. What is the best way to document and video something like that? Call the media, call Fox News, call whoever. Get them out there, You got it documented. You got it on national TV. So now if the thing disappears, someone's going to have to answer some questions. Now whether or not there's truly a government conspiracy or whatever, I don't know these things. I know that certain ones do believe that there's some type of thing, that the government is aware of this and that kind of thing. I don't know if that's true or not. But point being is get it documented. And the best way to document it is, of course, do it yourself. Take photos, video, notes, call in the media. They're doing the same thing. That way you have two different sources of information. Especially since you probably ain't going to be dragging it out of the forest.
Well, what about just getting cutting off a hand, Billy, and taking that with you?
Well, I've heard that too. I've also heard certain folks say to cut the lower jaw. Again, are you going to be accused of damaging property that may be on national forest? I don't know. I don't know what the I don't know since we've really never truly discovered, quote unquote, discovered Bigfoot. Would be something new, so to speak. I guess we don't really know what could happen from that.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you're walking through the forest, you don't really carry a can of preservative with you. So, you're faced with, basically, you have to either leave the body, and go, tell someone that it's there. I mean, unless you're lucky enough to actually have cell coverage right where the body is found, that you could call somebody to meet you there. So, what do you do? Do you take the chance of leaving the body and going to get somebody and then coming back, hoping that you'll find the spot if you don't have a GPS on you, and hoping that no one else tampers with it or it's not, eaten by the forest animals.
Well, that's for one thing's for sure. Obviously, if you're by yourself, you're kind of, if you don't have cell phone coverage, you're sort of out of luck. You're going to have to do something. But it would be great if you had someone else with you so that someone can kind of stand guard while the other goes off. Now, whether or not the other person would want to stand guard by a alleged dead Bigfoot, I don't know.
Well, what are you guarding against? Are you guarding against other Bigfoot? Or are you guarding against other people?
What if it's not dead?
Yeah. That would be a little bit hard to get that specimen if he's not dead.
Yeah. But at that point, there would be another type of specimen. That would be you leaving when you're crapping yourself.
Well, people would come back to find a body, but it would be yours if they found.
That's for sure. And just don't collect those scat samples because they didn't come from the Bigfoot.
Yeah, here's a whole underwear full of them.
We laugh, but it's first time for everything, folks. So you never know what could happen. But no, this is a good discussion to have, and it's good to hear all the different ideas. And I have for a long time thought that the right thing to do would to be call the media, just to get documentation from someone other than yourself. Someone who's completely unbiased, coming out from the media, and they're like, you can imagine the conversation coming down the road in the news van. Oh God, here we go, another bear with mange. Let's go take a video of it, I guess.
It would be really hard for me to leave that site without having some sort of DNA sample, whether it be a hand, a finger, hair. I wouldn't feel right leaving that body there without having taking something with me. In the event that you come back and it's gone for whatever reason.
Well, one thing's for sure, you have an assortment of knives with you, so I'm sure you would find the right one to.
I think I have the right one for the job.
But I would like to shoot a video of you going up and doing it, because I know for a fact that it's going to take you several hours to even muster up the courage to go up and even attempt it.
Yeah. Well, you may be right about that, Billy. But
you'd be like, here, you do it. No, you do it.
Well, plus, Billy, it would take time to figure out how to cut out a ribeye from its haunches.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd be warming up the campfire, getting ready. I can say that I've had the first Bigfoot prime rib. Oh man.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know. That's a good question. That'd be a difficult one to answer. Like I said, I think for me, Billy, I would find it hard to not take a sample before I left that body. I'd have to get a sample.
Oh yeah, I would definitely not want to leave it. Leave it there, especially if I'm by myself. If I'm by myself, something's got to happen.
Yeah.
If I have somebody else with me, that's a little different story. Someone can just kind of stand guard while the other, if of course, the perfect situation would be you had full cell service and, that kind of thing, and that would be ideal. Of course, how are you going to direct the news media to where you're at out in the middle of the woods?
Right.
All right, go to the 10th tree, make a 30-degree turn. I tell you what, just take your GPS and put in these coordinates. This is where I'm at. That'd be ideal.
Well, I think. What would you do, Billy? Would you just leave the body and not take any samples?
No, but it would take me forever to make the attempt to get a sample.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here imagining. I mean, it's easy to sit here and discuss it, but it's harder when the situation actually arises and you're faced with looking at something that, you kind of, in a way, you kind of thought it existed, but then it's right in front of you, and it's kind of a different situation. So you're, God knows how long it would take for the shock to wear off. First of all, you'd be so excited that you found something like that. And I think it would probably take several hours before I could muster up any courage at all to even take anything.
Well, let's say you went to the media. What would you say? Would you just say, hey, I found a Bigfoot? I mean, what would you say so that they would believe you?
Oh,
think about how many.
Trust me.
Think about how many calls they get. People saying
you would be surprised if you called in to Fox News and you said, "Hey guys, listen, I am out here right now, standing right here next to an actual dead body of a Bigfoot. You want to come out here and film this? You're going to be the first one to ever film anything like this. I'm not going anywhere. I'm waiting on you guys to get here." I bet you'd be surprised at how quick they would come out.
You think so?
Because I mean, look, Bruce, they jump at all the hoaxes. I mean,
that's true.
They jumped at a costume in a freezer. Good Lord, they held a press release, a live televised press release of a costume in a freezer. Sure, that kind of hurt Bigfoot research in a way, probably, but at the same time, I mean, they still jump and do these. You see stories almost on a daily basis in different parts of the U.S. I mean, I think they would come, especially if you said, "Listen, it's right here. It's not going anywhere." And just think about it. If you send a photo or whatever to one of them's cell phone, they're going to jump in a van. They're going to be out there.
Well, what if you didn't have cell phone access?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That would be the difficult part. The difficult part would be, you and me both know that the last thing we want to do, you run across something like that, the last thing you want to do is let it out of your sight.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it because I'd be like, okay, here we are. This is the chance of a lifetime. You know, this is unheard of. I'm standing here. It's right here, and then I'm gonna walk away and get it and let it leave my sight. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, playing devil's advocate, Billy, there's a theory that these creatures live in tightly knit family groups. What are the chances that there's one of its family members is looking for it, and you're next to it?
Right. I know exactly, and I think that's what a lot of. I think I saw a comment in the chat room about that. That there may be a family or whatever, and and obviously, that's another thing to be in the back of your mind, because there's a good possibility that you're either, one, being watched, or two, sooner or later it's going to be worse. So, especially
how would you feel? I mean, you're looking for a lost family member, and then when you finally find him, he's dead, but there's some guy with a big knife trying to cut his hand off.
Exactly.
It'd be like, hey, Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Yeah, that would be a pretty frightening situation, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know that if that occurred, I don't know that you would make it back out alive. So. You
don't think so?
I don't think so. I mean, think about it. If these creatures are similar to us, and you saw somebody cutting up one of your relatives, I mean, what would be your reaction?
I have to open up a can of whoop ass on somebody.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And when they open up a can, I think that when they open the can, that they intend to do permanent harm.
Yeah.
So.
They probably make that messing with Sasquatch guy look like he's giving love taps to people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So anyway, I will give out the number again. I'd love to hear some folks out there that are listening to the show. We'd love to hear y'all's opinions. Maybe you have an opinion different from ours, or maybe you have a suggestion that we can discuss. The phone number is 347-237-5070. Again, 347-237-5070. When you get on the line, just hit the number 1, and it'll send a signal to me to tell me to pick up the phone. But or you could put something in chat. We'll spot it. I know Creature's been looking at it and catching them too. So. Ramble said Fox News would tell you the aliens are on their way to help recover the body.
I know, Billy. With all this talk about Bigfoot warping interdimensionally, I mean, think about it. You're trying to cut the hand off, and a Bigfoot warps in.
Well, here. This would be the worst case scenario. You just got off the phone with Fox News. Those guys are on their way, and all of a sudden you see the Bigfoot go whoop and disappear. At the point in time that you haul butt back to your vehicle and disappear yourself. Because who's going to believe that one? I can see you now explaining it. I swear, guys, it was right there and it just disappeared. Oh, man. I swear. You better hope you have your video camera on. Unless you jump into the warp hole with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do they make wormholes for two, or is it just one?
I don't know. Dial up the Stargate. I don't know.
This whole interdimensional Bigfoot thing is very popular these days, Billy.
Oh yeah,
getting a lot of traction.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, and I would say that I mean, let's face it. We have to give a little bit of credit to Finding Bigfoot. The TV show has really put a lot of people more on the aware of the situation, whether it's for good or bad. But you know, I've seen a lot of trail cam photos coming out. People taking pictures and videos of things. Like the latest one, for example. I don't know if you've seen it, Bruce, but apparently there's this trail camera photo from down in Wythe County, which is actually where I went to school, down in southwestern Virginia. And it looks somewhat similar to the old Pennsylvania photos of that trail cam photo of that one that they were calling a bear with mange. Except this one's
a Jacobson photo you're talking about?
It looks very similar to the Jacobson photo, except this trail camera was in the daytime and it's in color. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
No, I haven't seen that.
Again, it's an interesting photo. A lot of the consensus out there right now, though, is again they're saying it's bear. But it's really strange when you look at the proportion of the front legs versus the back legs and how they bend and where they bend. It's a very odd creature. So, you know, but again, the general consensus on it is it's a bear. So, I actually had some of my high school buddies actually sending me the photo. Billy, look, what do you think? What do you think? You know. And what do you say? I mean, unfortunately, it's a photo. It's not a frontal. You know, it's not a frontal shot. It's the shot of it. Like I say, very similar to the Jacobson. It's kind of a rear side shot. But it's in daylight, so you can see it a little bit better. It's very skinny. But I don't know. It's not like a bear I've ever seen. So I'm stuck as, you know, I guess I've never seen a bear in that bad a shape. All the bears I've ever seen look like they didn't have a problem finding food. So.
Well, Billy, I've seen actually a full-grown dead. I mean, I've seen a photo of a full-grown bear that was shot, and the way it was in the back of the truck made it look like it had long arms. You know, its forelimbs looked like arms, and its proportions did look long and slender, like something that would be bipedal, but it was clearly a bear. So it's possible that the angle that you take the photo could be misleading. So most likely that is a bear, but
right.
Most people, unless you've actually seen a bear in real life, most people's idea of what a bear looks like comes from movies and photographs and things like that, in the zoos,
right.
And you don't get to see them in those angles. So it could be just a bear that looks kind of caught at a weird angle.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it all of that's possible. I will, but I will have to say that I've seen enough bear in the wild that I've never seen one that looks like that. And I've seen side profiles. I've seen one that was actually coming down out of a tree, was up about halfway up in the tree and actually came sliding. It was really funny. It was like it was sliding down a fire pole. It was unreal. You could hear the limbs breaking and everything as it slid down. And those bears just didn't look like that to me. I mean, they were plump. They looked like they were eating well. So I don't know. It's and especially in southwestern Virginia, I just have a lot of trouble believing that a bear would have scarce food in that area of Virginia, because that place is plentiful with all
right.
kinds of food. So I don't know. But
Bill, you just, not to get off topic here, but you remind me of something when you mentioned that photo was from Pennsylvania. I was, Labor Day weekend, I was actually riding my motorcycle back, and I was going through Pennsylvania, and I decided to stop by and say hello to Dave Rupert and his family.
Mm-hmm.
So, I stopped by, and then they invited me over to Dave's parents. They were grilling burgers and stuff like that. So I got to meet his mom and dad and his sister, and was a lot of fun. But,
you mean Carrie didn't fix you something to eat?
Well, here's the thing, Billy. So we're there, and then Dave's mom says, "Oh, you want something to eat?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And she says, "Don't worry, we won't let Carrie near the grill." Right. So I said, "All right," because I was hungry. We're in the screen house, and I'm sitting right next to the grill. So yeah, I said, "Okay, yeah, sure." So anyway, she puts all these patties on the grill, these hamburger patties, and they're cooking up, and it's smelling good. And then I see Carrie walk over to the grill, and Carrie's talking to me, and I forget what we were talking about, but she picks up the salt shaker, and she starts to, season the hamburgers. But she's, looking at me. She's not even looking at how much salt she's pouring onto these burgers. I'm telling you, Billy, it didn't even look like the top was on the salt shaker. There was so much salt pouring out of the salt shaker on these burgers. And I'm like, Carrie, watch what you're doing. You're seasoning hamburgers. You're not salting a frozen sidewalk in the dead of winter. She's talking to me, and she's just dumping all the salt on the. Oh my God. So so every now and then I think I'm being too hard on Carrie because I always make fun of her cooking, but then it's it's instances like that make me realize that no, I'm not being hard on her at all. but they're they're the nicest folks you could ever meet. It's just that Carrie's cooking will take years off your life.
Oh man.
Anyway, back to our topic.
Yeah. Now Ramble mentions maybe taking a blood tissue sample. Obviously that could be done. I do know some researchers that carry around stuff to do that. Collect any kind of samples, blood samples, and that kind of thing. The only thing is we have allegedly had blood tissue samples that have been analyzed by certain folks, and so far it hasn't turned out too well. Now I'm interested to see how the psych study turns out.
Well, Billy, I mean, they must have had. Well, I don't know if it's blood or tissue, but they must have had some sort of DNA, because it's my understanding that there were hundreds of DNA samples submitted for the Melba Ketchum study.
Right. Yeah, some of those were allegedly from the research work that what's his name, Erickson, was doing. Supposedly some of that was from the Bigfoot that was allegedly shot, and then a combination of other samples. But then at the same time, as we all know, Sykes is also doing a study on some samples. So I'm really curious as to what he comes up with in his study in comparison to the study Melba Ketchum did. So,
when's that supposed to be released?
I don't know. I've seen some rumor mills going around saying that it's going to be real soon. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out.
That'll be interesting to see if it's consistent with Melba Ketchum's study,
right,
or if it contradicts it.
Right. Yeah, we had talked about that. Jeremy James just mentioned if they knew one of their own were dead and knew the location, isn't it unlikely that they'd let you in the proximity? Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, Jeremy. It's that would kind of be a real iffy situation. If indeed there were some there in the area. I don't know how successful we could be. Okay, we got a caller on the line. Let me get over here. Caller from the 307 area code. You're on the air.
Hey guys, this is old school Nate. How you doing?
Hey, good Nate.
I want to salute the world's greatest prime rib eater. I happen to agree with the speculation tonight on that. And, Billy, I salute you for riding tomorrow. We are with you in spirit, brother.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Nate.
You're welcome. So my quick question is, I was looking at a website that had a lot of lists of bodies that were found, and Digger pointed out that the guy that was behind it might be a total quack, and I'm reading, I'm not going to give the name because, you know, I get into name calling and stuff, but looks like he's a total bonehead with the racist stuff. But there's at least 92 reports on this page, and, you know, aside of whoever collected the information, maybe even if 10% of those things, you know, 9 bodies found over the years, you know, your guys' topic tonight is like the biggest topic you could possibly put on a Bigfoot show, and nobody's calling in. Maybe what you want to ask is, are the people in the Bigfoot community resigned to believe that it doesn't matter how many bodies you find, it's never going to be put out into the construct of what's publicly accepted because of all the things in place? I mean, we can go any different way with this. I'm in the camp, first of all, I don't want a body. I think, you know, we don't need a body with as much evidence as is there, but I completely understand, you know, why people like the Creature Seeker and other people who are in the science camp want that. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting science. I don't think we need science for something like Bigfoot, but that's just my personal opinion. So without getting heated one way or the other of who's right or wrong, what about, my central question, I guess, is to come back to it, are we resigned to just believe that we're never, ever going to have a body put this to rest because this has been going on for so long and there have been bodies found? That's without a doubt. So that's my question. Are we resigned that, you know, it's not going to go anywhere?
You want to go first, Bruce?
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Nate? I think to some extent, I think we are resigned to the fact that we're never going to get a body. I think that there are people out there, and I've actually heard them say that, you know, we'll never get a body. Now, what that's based on, they're just purely their opinion. You know, I don't know, but there is. I can tell you for sure that there is an undercurrent out there, and from skeptics and from people who research Bigfoot, think that it's a mystery that's never going to get solved, like the Loch Ness Monster, right?
Right.
But there's also a contingent of researchers who you know, they work hard toward getting evidence and hopefully, you know, some clues that would lead them to a body, whether it be alive or dead. So I think there's a little bit of truth both in what you said, Nate, that some people think it'll never happen, just like a lot of people thought the Red Sox would never win the World Championship again. But, you know, I think there's still a lot of people out there who are working hard to say, look, we know that there's a lot of evidence out there that supports the existence of these creatures. We just have to bring it to light.
Yeah. And to go along with Bruce's comment, I think another thing that has deterred a lot of people, I know it's deterred me, is, you know, every time we turn around, there's someone claiming they have a body, or someone claiming they shot one. And we, you know, and folks get let down time and time and time again. And I think people, every time they hear a claim like that, they automatically think hoax. I do. I admit it. You know, you automatically say, oh, yeah, well, we know how this one's going to turn out. You know, and, you know, so it's one of those scenarios where you're like, you know, is it ever going to happen? And I think we all get discouraged.
Would it be safe then to consider that until the Bigfoot community really has a consensus about a course of action, it's never going to go to the next step? Because, you know, if bodies are being found and confiscated, and the only bodies that are reported and, you know, put on Fox or whatever are always the hoaxes, it's like, well, even if his body did show up tomorrow, I think we'd all still be at the same place where we're arguing our different points and wanting to be validated for how, what's the word? Like for example, I'm on the camp that thinks that there's some spooky stuff going on that can't be explained, and so when Creature's talking about his stuff where he absolutely doesn't believe it, he has a what's the word? There's something important. There's value is the word I'm looking for. There's value in what he's behind saying no, and there's value what I'm behind saying maybe. And I think, we all have of our values that we need to hold on to because it's important. It's important to have your feet grounded. Say, well, let's look at a DNA sample. Is this human? Is this, more primate? That's valid. But it's also valid to say, if, you shoot it and it disappears, what the hell is going on with that, too? But back to my central question is, I think even tomorrow, if we had a body, we'd all still be arguing our points because we all want to be, in a way, showing that what we're showing as an angle has some value and that it shouldn't be completely dismissed, but they're so broad. I mean, there's no consensus. Even if we had a body, we would not have consensus and it won't go anywhere. So do we have to have consensus before it goes anywhere? That might be a whole new show, and I'll take it off the air so that people can call in. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Nate.
You're welcome. Bye.
Now he brought up a good point earlier too. When he was talking about, I lost my train of thought here. The evidence that's there now. Okay. Let's face it. There's a lot of alleged physical evidence, and we all know that there are court cases that have been won on less physical evidence. And this has been a discussion that's went on for a long time, that this went to the court of law, and you were to present all this thousands of physical evidence, could a case be won in court? And the answer to that's probably yes. So he kind of brought up a good point when he somewhat mentioned the evidence earlier.
Well, so here's the thing. So I think Nate's right in that even if we did have a body, there'd still be people saying, that's not a Bigfoot body. So just like today, there's still people saying that Elvis Presley is still alive. Despite the fact that, a body, it was nationally televised. I mean, so there's always going to be someone who's going to be a naysayer. But let me go back to what Nate said about sort of my position on things. And I tend to be more skeptical. And it's not that I dismiss anecdotal evidence. What is anecdotal evidence? Anecdotal evidence is eyewitness reports, stories. I don't dismiss that. Most of the creatures that we know today, especially the more recent ones, came to us by anecdotal evidence. For example, the mountain gorilla wasn't discovered until the 1950s. But the people who lived in that area came back with reports like, hey, there's this bipedal creature that's as strong as 20 men, and so they sent expeditions to look for it. Now, so once you have the anecdotal evidence that there may be something, out of the ordinary going on, you have to actually work toward getting some physical evidence. So that's where I'm at. And the lack of physical evidence, primarily, i.e. a body, makes me very skeptical. But I do acknowledge that we have footprints, that we have photographs, that we have probably the clearest video you'll ever get, a.k.a. the Patterson-Gimlin film.
All right.
And I acknowledge that there is evidence, but, all those things are, over the years have been sort of refuted in one way or another. So what remains is the last the last hope of proving the existence of these creatures, and that is a type specimen, a body.
Right. Especially from a scientific standpoint.
Right.
You know.
Well, because, look, there are people who saw, I know, Billy, you and I both know these people. People who told me that they have had an eyewitness account, have seen the creature, and they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that these creatures exist because they've seen them with their own two eyes. And I'm not talking about people. I'm not talking about people who had a fleeting glimpse of something or just heard a noise in the woods. I'm talking about people who saw these creatures in full view and saw their whole form, and know that, hey, you can't tell me differently. These things do exist, right? You and I both know these people.
Right. Yeah,
and
you're exactly right. And they don't care what anybody says. They care less what science says. Some of these people, like you said, they are truly 100% convinced that it exists, and they could care less what you think.
Now, Billy, they have an advantage because they actually witnessed, they actually saw the creature. When you're trying to convince people who not only did not see the creature, but probably don't even believe that such a creature exists, when you're trying to convince them, you're going to have to need some sort of hard evidence.
Right.
And that's where science comes in. So the science part of it, because that's science, that's the standard, when it comes to, zoology, that's the standard by which everything is measured, right? Science.
Right.
Type specimen, classifications, genus, species, without that, you can have all the stories you want, but no one's really going to sit and take notice until you get to text stuff.
Right. All right, we got another caller holding. Caller from the 540 area code. You're on the air.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Mary, and I've called before in the past. And at first, I was kind of not disappointed, but I'm such a Bigfootophile, if that's a word, that I had to come back and listen to you. At first, I had, it was like you guys have been spinning your wheels about this for forever. If you pardon my trying to, I'm sorry, I can't articulate it, but what I'm trying to get by is, why does science matter? Okay, let's put ourselves in Bigfoot's shoes. And Bigfoot was we were the cryptids, and Bigfoot was trying to prove that we were real.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that? Can you think? Can we put ourselves into Bigfoot's shoes and see how humans are just, well, I have to say European humans.
Right.
Because, this is all European-based as far as I'm concerned, because native people understand. If you get my drift.
I completely know what you're saying. And I think a lot of it has to do with our backgrounds. For example, of course, I work in a business that's related to kind of scientific research, environmental type work, if you will. So my background is I almost, and again, it's whether it's wrong or it's right, I feel that I have to see it, touch it, and know that it's real. And that's just me because it's my background. Now, I don't know, Bruce, what is it for you? That's how it is for me. How is it for you, Bruce?
Well, I think for me, Billy, it's very similar. For me, there needs to be evidence. So the difference between proving something in belief is evidence, right? So, or faith. So, if you have faith in something, that kind of connotes, a lack of evidence. For me, I need that evidence because when if I talk to other people, we need a standard to judge things against, and so that standard has been, some sort of proof, some sort of evidence. And so I always revert back to that because look at how many hoaxes. I would love to believe people who said that they, saw this or did that with Bigfoot, but there have been so many hoaxes and so many dishonest people out there
right.
with bad intentions.
Right. And another point that you just brought up, Bruce, is these hoaxes. We give so much validity to the hoaxers by talking about them, by rehashing what they did to us or did back when, and that just keeps their 15 minutes of fame continuing. And
I agree with that, Mary. That's the reason that I don't talk about that person.
Well, even whoever it is, whenever it comes up, people tend to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes on it. And I'm sure whoever is on whoever the subject is enjoying that. But again, what I'm trying to say is, also being a mother, I just can't. I don't understand why it's necessary to keep looking for an appendage, a head, anything that we can dissect. To me, it's just abhorrent. And again, all I want to say is if the shoe were on the other foot and we were the cryptids, how would we feel about it? That's all I'm trying to push out there, because I feel that there are enough footprints out there. It's not anecdotal. There have been enough reports that have been validated by people of highest integrity. And I'm talking about, who I'm talking about, the Bendernagels, the Greens, and people who did this for their lives. And that's all I'm trying to say. I feel so passionate because I don't want to see any animal, for that matter, being killed in the name of science anymore.
Oh no, I don't want to see one.
It's just abhorrent to me.
I am in no way promoting. I'm of the no-kill category. I don't believe in killing anything.
Sure. Oh, well, all I'm saying is, even if we find a body, if I were to find a body, I would bury it. Is exactly what I would do, because I don't think it's respectful. It's purely disrespectful to these people. And that's all I have to say. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't mean to get up on my soapbox, but I just feel that they are people just like we are, and the more we acknowledge that, the better this world would be.
Well, we thank you for
Mary,
your...
when you say we should acknowledge that, should we acknowledge that based on faith, your word, or should we acknowledge that based on some sort of evidence?
I have not had any experiences myself. So I am going by other people's, experiences. So
okay.
What are you saying? Are you asking me if I just believe that they're real?
Yeah. So if you, in the absence of you having had any experiences of your own,
mm-hmm.
what leads you to believe that these creatures are real?
Oh, it's just from listening to people's stories, and not only stories, their actual recounting. You know, not for the dozens of people that I've heard who've had experiences, and you know, they're Brenda Harris. I'm sure you know her, right?
Yeah.
Brenda Harris. I mean, when she talks about those experiences, those people have seen it. I believe what they've seen. I'm not going to question any of that because they live with them. And up in the is that in Washington State where the Umatillas are?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. just the hundreds, I'm going to say, at least a few hundred people have had experiences with them in the Northwest. I'm sure that's the case. It's got to be. So who am I to, you know, question whether or not these people are sane? I actually, the way they depict their experience is enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to, I'm not a doubting Thomas. I don't need to, you know, put my finger into a wound to know that there's a wound there.
Well, sure, but so Mary, you're asking people to believe you, but you do not offer any evidence.
I'm not I'm not the person that's making these. You know, I'm listening to other people's experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to make anybody believe me? All I'm saying is I believe, and you know, I don't need to tell anybody else. I mean, I'm not trying to make other people believe that they're real.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, Mary. You're offering your opinion. You're not trying to push your opinion on anybody, but in your mind, you believe they're real based on eyewitness testimony.
Yes, I believe they're real,
okay.
And I just believe that we shouldn't be trying to hunt them down just to get any evidence that they're there, because we've got the footprints, we've got the fur or the hair, or
Mary,
we have eyewitness accounts. And that
Mary,
should
let me ask you a question. So you're obviously in the camp of no kill. You don't want to see these creatures hurt, and I don't either. So am I correct in assuming that?
Sure. Right.
Okay. So what if I said to you, you know, right now there is no legislation protecting these animals. That if you wanted to go out and shoot one and kill one, you could, and have no accountability for it, you know, from the law. But what if I told you, Mary, that if you could get one specimen to save the whole species, now what would you do? What if I told you that if you could get one specimen, Mary, and prove that these creatures exist, we could enact legislation to protect the whole species? All I
can say is that they've been here for eons, and they don't need our protection. In fact, if we got the government involved with it, it would be even scarier. So I just feel that
definitely agree
you know,
with you
they've been around forever, and they don't need our protection. If anything, we could learn so much from them.
All right, so
on a higher level, you know, on a much higher level.
So you basically skirted the question.
Skin and bones. Pardon me?
You basically skirted the question, Mary. You know,
I didn't skirt anything.
And the question is, if you could get one specimen to save the whole species, would it be worth it to you to sacrifice one individual to save the whole species? Because right now, like I said, there is no legislation. You know, it's not against the law to shoot one of these things. You could go out there and you could shoot them all day long, and it'd be perfectly legal.
If you could find them, right?
Right. But if I told you, we could just, if you provided one specimen, we could save the entire species. Would it be worth it to you, or would it not be worth it to you to kill one individual to save the entire species?
I don't think that would be necessary. I'm not trying to skirt again, but I'm just saying I wouldn't. I don't think it's necessary to kill anything to save anything.
So is that a no? You would
right.
not sacrifice?
That's right. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do
you
it.
Wouldn't. Okay,
I wouldn't advocate it at all. Period. Just to,
okay.
I think
sure.
As a mother again, probably beating a dead horse. Excuse the pun. It's just that there's enough mayhem and enough of this stuff going on that it's like I said, it's abhorrent to me to be thinking about trying to kill these beings or trying to get evidence, physical evidence, like, how's about, so we find an orphan. What if we found an orphan child, right? A Bigfoot child. It's orphaned, whatever. And we take it into custody. What do you suggest we do with it?
Well, how do you know it was orphaned?
This is the same kind of questioning that you just, what is that called? I forget what it's called, but, what would we do with an orphaned child? What should we do with an orphaned Bigfoot child? Should we put it in a cage? Should we, prod it, probe it? Should we take its temperature rectally? What do we do? Should we take blood from it?
Well,
would you like your child to be prodded and probed like that?
If you didn't study it, how would you know that it was an orphaned Bigfoot child? If you didn't do some kind of test on it, or
Well, for one thing, they really don't look like anything else that we've seen. There aren't too many textbook cases of, from what other people have said, unless I don't know. Well, anyway, I've taken up too much of your time, and that was just my 2 cents. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling in, Mary.
Okay. Bye.
We have some good callers. They put some pretty weighty questions, Billy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we got another one holding. And we're a little over time, but we're going to go ahead and take the call. Caller from the 330 area code, you're on the air.
Hello, DNB. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Good. Not much, Bruce. I was saying what I would do if I had a smartphone, I'd start live streaming that to YouTube right away. Because if you're out there in the woods, you got the dead body there, you're calling Fox News, NSA will be out there and they'll have that body gone in a few seconds. Just like what happened out west there decades ago. And we're still waiting for where the tree fell on the Bigfoot, and we're still waiting to get that picture being supposed to be released. Still hasn't done because they threaten all the people there, and I would assume that's going to keep going on. But I got a couple good things that came through on the internet there. Linda and I were looking at it. We got sent a woolly mammoth. Was it a baby or is it a woolly mammoth that's in Siberia? This was filmed in the 40s, and it's on the internet now. just goes to prove you never know what you're going to, discover. There's a lot of things out there like that.
Right. Yeah, I think Nate, the sound's not dead. I think he's just very quiet. I think people are having trouble hearing you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
It's still really quiet.
Talk louder, you can
Talk louder, huh?
You know what? I'll hang up.
But yeah, it's now you said something about one. Did you say something about one trapped under a tree? Did we lose him?
Hello?
Hello? Oh, we must have lost him.
Billy, who was that?
I'm not sure. I couldn't hear. I thought he said his name, but I didn't hear what it was. But did I hear him right? Did I hear him right?
Was that Tim? Was that his name?
I don't know. I couldn't quite. I was trying to listen real close with my headphones, but I couldn't quite make out what he said his name was. But
are you still there?
Okay, now we hear you. Now we hear you.
Press the one, maybe.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Is this Tim from Ohio?
Yes, it is.
It's Tim from Ohio.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start over then, huh?
Tim, I know that your wife was probably trying to smother you under a pillow. That's why it sounded like you were.
Can you see me?
Oh, I just been reading all about these smartphones and how the NSA they're tracking everything you see or everything that goes on there. So I'm thinking if I had the scenario like you had, I'd just immediately stream it to YouTube and go all around the body and push it and try to flip it over and give every picture before the government was out there taking the body, like we've heard happen in the past.
Tim, do you have a smartphone?
No, I actually have a dumb phone. I had a smartphone and it would ring and say, "Hey, dummy, you got a call." So I got rid of that. But my children have them and my grandchildren have them, and they're walking around. You can walk around anywhere and shove this stuff on the internet immediately. It's amazing. So you don't even need Wi-Fi anymore. If you have a smartphone wherever you're at, you got a signal. You could be on the internet right away. So I think that would be the way to go. But there was a couple of things that showed up on the internet I thought was interesting. One was a film of a woolly mammoth filmed in the 1940s, and over in Russia, and they released it. So it's just saying, we need to keep pursuing any investigation, find out what's out there, right?
It was a dead woolly mammoth, right?
A woolly mammoth, yeah.
It was a dead woolly mammoth. It wasn't alive, though, right?
No, it's alive, walking around. It's on the internet. It was in the 1940s in Siberia, Russia.
Tim, come on, seriously. You want me to believe that they filmed a live woolly mammoth in the 40s?
Believe it. I don't know. It looks like an elephant, and it's all fuzzy. And the tail is like shorter than an elephant. It has like a short, fuzzy tail, and it kind of flops around like a dog. So it's a little different than other elephants I've seen. But
Tim, let me ask you a question. Aren't you also the person who went to a camp out and brought only an inflatable mattress? Is that true?
Inflatable mattress, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I think so.
You thought it was a tent, but when you took it out of the bag, it was just an inflatable mattress, right?
It was a mattress, yeah.
Hey, he likes to look at the stars when he's sleeping. Well,
You can't believe everything you see, huh? Is what you're telling me.
You can't.
I've got another one. You're on this interdimensional thing, and I got a newspaper article a friend sent me, and this woman, her husband's a soldier, he's stationed overseas, and she goes to a porno, a 3D porno with her girlfriends in a movie theater. She claims she gets pregnant. So they're showing a picture. They're showing a picture of the mother and a little black baby. It says the black fell on there, and that she got pregnant watching this porno movie. So maybe there is something to this interdimensional thing that I don't know about yet, but I got an actual newspaper article this morning on that.
Wow.
You know, Tim, this is like really close to being a crank call.
Well, you know,
I think you needed a laugh after Mary. God loves her, but wow. I was going to call.
Everyone's got different opinions, and we
right.
we like to hear everyone's opinion. You may not agree, not agree with it, but it's great to hear different opinions, because that's what we're after. Is just put them all out on the table and let the listeners decide, what they believe or don't believe.
Well, I agree with her. You shouldn't shoot one, just for science. But if you found a dead body, I would try to drag the whole body, instead of a finger or something. I'd try to get the whole thing. I don't know, on a 4-wheeler or a gator or something, 4-wheel drive pickup. I'd be greedy, I guess.
Tim, don't let him make fun of your mattress. I mean, if we want to talk, tell tall tales, I mean, we can always talk about his little small 8x8 tent,
8 by 8. You mean 80 foot by 80 foot, right? It was.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to make fun of his really small tent.
Small, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a small tent, Billy.
How long did it take?
People.
How long did it take to disassemble the elevator shaft?
Billy.
I think my condo is smaller than that tent.
Touche, Tim, touche.
Oh boy! Oh well, we had fun, and
that was
always a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a good time, especially once you were able to finally get a tent.
Well, Linda borrowed that one from the actual tent we slept in. Was one she borrowed from a fellow employee, but it took you and Rex and Mike and about 4 other people to get the darn thing up. So.
well, remember, Tim, before the camp out, I suggested, hey, because it's not your tent, make sure you take it out of the bag and set it up so you know how to put it up when you finally get to the campground.
You're telling a man to follow directions? What were you thinking? I like Linda talking there. Come on.
The first thing that gets thrown away are the instructions.
Right. Who wants those?
They're taking up space. Get them out of here.
That was so funny. So they get to the campground and they pull this thing out of a duffel bag, and it's just a inflatable mattress. It's not a tent.
Oh my God!
I tell you what, that doesn't surprise me. I tell you, if you saw the bag that my mattress goes in, it does look like a tent container. I mean, those things are big.
Well, but it actually is a tent, Billy. I think that's the difference.
You can use it as a tent.
Well, the best thing was putting the tent right under the nut tree, so when the nuts fell down, the little Dan that was with us there come out screaming, I'm being attacked by Bigfoot. That kind of was the fun part of the whole night, kind of livened things up there.
Exactly.
Tim, between you and Fred Saluga is, talking about Bigfoot warping in and out of our dimension. You're talking about woolly mammoths in the 1940s. This is like, This is like unbelievable.
All right. We can email. Can we email that to him?
No, somebody put the link up in the chat room already.
Yeah.
Oh.
They put the link up in the chat room.
So Bruce will have to click on it and check it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty, guys. Good show, and I'll let you go here.
All right. Thanks,
Tim. Wait, Tim.
Uh-huh.
Tim, before you. So you said if you found a body, what would you do with it? You drag it out with a 4-wheeler, and then what would you do with it?
I bring it over to your office probably, because I couldn't take it to Milgram. I don't know. I'd have to find somebody I could trust. You know.
You're like Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend Bernie's. That's right. Yeah. Linda and had one side on that. We'd be walking down there, you know, pretending we're in a parade or something. Oh no, this is just Cousin George in a costume, you know. Bernie the Bigfoot.
Oh man!
Wow. That is too funny.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Tim.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Tim. And,
You're
next
welcome.
time you get any woolly mammoth sightings, give us a shout, will you?
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, Bruce, I think we've tied up another show tonight.
We have.
I guess next week everybody be watching the Sasquatch Watch Radio Facebook group page. We'll put out an announcement of the guests that we're going to have on next week's show. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks for those that called in and livened up the discussions. And Bruce, do you have anything else?
No, Billy. I was just gonna, just add to that to say thanks to all the callers. It doesn't take much to liven up our discussion. I'm afraid.
Well, I got a funny one. Ramble said, "Who was it that needed the building permit to put up their tent?"
Billy, I think you guys are really embellished. My tent's not that big. It's not, nowadays tents are bigger than they used to be.
Hey, you got to
really
follow the rules.
big.
You got to follow the rules, just like the carnival when it comes to town. I mean, you got to have a permit.
For the big stuff.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for tuning in tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Everybody think about those. Think about, tomorrow's day is a very important day to always remember. And we'll see you all next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Remember to join us again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate every one of our listeners. Thank you so much for being here.